Hello once again, and welcome back to the Rise Up Rooted Global Wellness Symposium, the Spring 22 edition. I am so glad that you're with me. You know, twice a year, we initiate this 5-day global conversation with authors and speakers and teachers and coaches and podcasters and bloggers and people from all over the world who have learned to recognize and embrace the wisdom and wonder of the natural world in their lives and in their work. And I specifically go out and look for people who are making an effort to bring more of us into deeper connection with the natural world as well. They're teaching and educating other people, and so that we can benefit, and actually the entire planet can benefit, and the more than human world as well. So that's what we're about here at the Rise Up Rooted Symposium. And I am delighted today to introduce my friend, Rosie Batista. Now, I'm the host for the event, Alex Strauss. You guys will be seeing me off and on all week as I introduce other speakers. But this time, Rosie is going to interview me. Now, Rosie is my good friend, but she's also the creator of the Card Deck Creation Course Experience. And this is where she teaches entrepreneurs like me, including me, to create a useful and impactful card deck that channels their voice and mission into a physical product. And that is just the beginning with Rosie. Once the creative flow has been unleashed, Rosie takes her students further along the journey of creativity, confidence, and clarity to share their gift with the world. And I'll include a link to Rosie's work on this page somewhere if you're interested in card decks and want to learn more about what she does. I highly recommend her. She is wonderful. So Rosie, thank you so much for agreeing to interview me today.
Yeah, I love it. I'm so excited. So you have quite the bio and you do so many things and I'm amazed at. So in addition to being the creator of the biannual Rise Up Rooted Symposium series, Alex, you're the author of the best-selling book, The Mindful Walker, and the companion, The Simple Card Deck, which is the 52 walks that go along with it. And here's your beautiful book right here.
Thank you.
So you wrote this with the card deck you wrote with your daughter, who is an artist and a zoologist, and it was also illustrated during the pandemic. So you are also the publisher of the award-winning regional business magazine for healthcare professionals, and you hold a master's degree in journalism. So Alex, you're also certified in Natural Mindfulness Guide, the founder and CEO of the Mindful Walker School of Wellbeing, and the creator of Walk the Year, a program designed to get even the busiest people up and out into nature for a few minutes a day, which is so great, no matter where they live. So a little fun fact about you too, which, I mean, just looking at you, I don't really believe this. You're going to have to show a picture. An advocate for healthy aging and natural beauty. She's a grandma and also a certified facial yoga instructor and a beauty nutrition advisor. So today, Alex, we're going to be talking about nature and self-acceptance, the myth of perfection. So I'm excited to get started on this. So Alex, your background in journalism, how did you become interested in the nature connection work?
Yeah, well, thanks, Rosie, for starting there, because I think that a lot of people will resonate with this experience. You know, journalism and writing in general is kind of one of those areas where you need a lot of energy, you need a lot of focus, you need creativity. And when you don't have those things, you know, your work really suffers. And I got to a point in my work and just kind of in my life where I hit a wall, right? And my work wasn't doing well. I felt like I ran out of creativity, and my energy was low. And I found out later that I had suffered for most of my life with kind of a low level of depression they call dysthymia, that just kind of a flatness that kind of took a lot of the joy out of my life. And I got to a point where it just kind of came to a head, and work wasn't working, and relationships weren't working, and there wasn't much joy in my life, and I just didn't feel happy. You know, I didn't feel joyful. And I had moved. My family and I moved across the country, and anybody who has ever moved knows that this is a stressful experience. So it just kind of took everything to another level, because it kind of uprooted all my usual support, you know, the people that were there to normally support me, and my usual routines and everything that's been you know, that I knew before, and that was all uprooted. And so I was in this new place and nothing really seemed to be working well. And we had moved, we got the kids a dog. So I had this puppy. So I started walking. I started walking the dog primarily because, you know, you have a puppy, it has to go out, right? So it has to be walked. So yeah, I took the puppy out periodically and I would just sort of like go up the block and back and then go about my day. And it was like a miracle. A miracle happened to me, Rosie. The more I walked, the better I felt. And my experience is not unique. I know other people who have kind of come to nature connection via the back end, via the back door, you know, have kind of found this as well. But I did not go out deliberately because I heard that, you know, forest bathing could help me, or mindfulness could help me, or walking in nature could help me, all of which is true, but I didn't know any of that. I just knew that I didn't want my dog to soil the carpet. So I took the dog out, you know, and I started taking these walks and I did it every day. And then I would do it twice a day. And I found that the when I came back, things just worked a little bit better. You know, like I was in a better mood. I could sit down and I could write better, which had really been a problem. You know, I had this block and I couldn't figure out where to start. Like it seemed so hard. Everything just seemed so hard. And when I came back from even a short walk, even 15 minutes or so, I come back, I sit down, I could write. I wasn't so crabby with my kids. I found that I slept better. And you know, when you're depressed, it's funny, you're tired, but sometimes you also can't sleep. It's this awful, you know, double whammy that people who suffer with all types of mental illnesses and even just general stress and anxiety, you know, you really want the relief of sleep, but you can't sometimes fall asleep. And that was my experience as well. But I slept better. And so all these things began to happen. And I'm a journalist at heart. You know, that's my training and my background. And that means I'm curious. I'm just a curious person. And I want to understand how things work. So after a few months of this, when I really did kind of begin to start coming out of the fog a little bit and feeling better, I wanted to know what was going on. I wanted to understand what was happening with me because it was more than just, I wasn't doing anything actively but walking. I wasn't settling my mind and counting my steps or breathing in a particular way or even noticing the trees or I was doing none of that, you know, and it sort of happened automatically, which is anyway, that's what I say is the miracle. You know, it's like nature came and helped heal me and I did nothing to, and now I do, you know, now I'm way more intentional about the time I spend in nature, but at the time I wasn't doing anything. So I started looking on the internet, looking for research into this phenomenon. And, you know, I mean, at the time, sometimes when something new happens to you, you think that you discovered it, you know, you think that like, wow, I'm the only person this has ever happened to. Well, of course, that is very, very much not the case. It's very much so that this is a well-known phenomenon. This is well-documented and increasingly well-researched, that a lot of, especially creative people over the years have, you know, employed to great effect, from artists and poets and heck, Hemingway and Einstein and Nietzsche, like lots of people have used time in nature and walking in nature to jumpstart their creativity and to protect their health and to help their minds work better and improve their focus and energy, all this stuff. And so anyway, that's where the book came from, because after I started finding this out, I was like, whoa, people need to know about this. I need to tell people that it's really, really easy. It's really simple and you can do it too. And it really helps. So I wrote The Mindful Walker in 2016. And then, as you mentioned, a few years later during the pandemic, my college-age daughter was home with me, and she's a beautiful artist, as you know, because Rosie, you coached me through the card deck creation process. But we wrote that card deck of mindful walks after a couple of years after the book kind of give people just little like starters, just a little, I'm making, this is the card. I'm making the card in my hand. Just a little way to start individual mindful walks. And so that was a really fun project as well. But anyway, that's a long-winded way to explain kind of how I came to this work. And then it has evolved. The more I've done it, the more I've learned, the more I've connected with other people, like I have here at the symposium, which has been so fantastic. The more excited I get about it, and the deeper I go in, my own practice as well.
Yeah, so it's pretty deep when you say that nature relates to self-acceptance. So can you tell us a little bit about how does that work?
Yeah, so there are a lot of different things I could talk about in terms of how nature is healing and what being in nature can do for us. And then we have a lot of speakers on this symposium who are talking about all these different aspects of the way nature impacts our bodies and how we interact with the natural world and what it does for us and for the planet. But I chose to talk about self-acceptance largely because that has been impactful for me personally, but also because nobody else on the symposium is specifically addressing this issue. We know from actual research that spending time in nature, sorry, I'm adjusting my ear thing a little, spending time in nature actually does make us more compassionate in general. And that extends, I think, not just to other people, but to ourselves as well. We can become more compassionate with ourselves by spending time in nature. We never say that that the natural world is not enough. You just, whatever nature is there, you look at it and you're happy that there's a tree there. We don't say the tree is not enough, and we're nature, right? So if you kind of extend that logically, we can't be not enough. We are nature. We are here doing our thing and living our lives. And by definition, that makes us enough because we are part of nature. And so kind of coming to that understanding helped with my own, self-acceptance and self-love, frankly. So that's how I think the two are
I love
related.
that. That's fantastic. Even just listening to the birds in the background while you're talking, that's
so wonderful.
Yeah.
Rosie and I were talking. I chose to be outside today because this is my favorite place to work and to speak. And I've interviewed other folks from my office because I wanted to be very careful not to be interrupted and whatnot. But it was really important to me today to be outside, even though we're expecting an Amazon delivery and my dogs are out here. And so I'm just apologizing in advance if all heck breaks loose while we're talking, but that is the nature of things, actually.
Yeah, the nature of things for sure. So so this is like a lot of good stuff you get. What does your own daily practice look like?
Well, so every day I spend a little bit of time with my feet on the ground. This is called grounding or earthing, and this is something that you'll hear about in this symposium. If you're interested in this, I want you to pay particular attention to interviews by Dr. Conover and Dr. Tracy Latz. Both of them are physicians, and both of them are talking about the physiological things that happen to us when we actually connect with the earth, skin to skin, earth to skin, dirt to skin. So I do that now for a few minutes every day. Start with that in the morning. Sometimes I just make my coffee and I stand outside for 5 minutes with my bare feet on the ground. And then of course I walk, and I still walk. And sometimes I'm able to take longer walks, and I love walking my neighborhood. You can see I live in a treed area. I'm very blessed with that. And so, but it's in the suburbs. I don't live way out in the country. I'm in the suburbs. So I take a little walk through my neighborhood once or twice a day. I like to do this before I start my work if I can, because again, we know that being in nature and spending time both walking and being in nature helps to jumpstart our creativity and get our blood flowing and improves our focus and our energy. So it's a great way, I find, for me to start the day. And then a lot of times I like to close out my day with that as well. So I talk a lot about a walk being a really good transitional activity, because it's a great way to, when I finish my work at the end of the day, and as someone who works from home, as a lot of people are doing these days, that sometimes it's a little tricky to make that transition between here I'm working and now I am not working, supper time and I'm going to commune with my spouse or play with my dog or watch TV. I'm going to be away from work now and this is my home time. And so I find that taking a little walk for maybe 30 minutes helps me make that transition. So a lot of times after I've worked for the day, I'll go out and I'll do a little walk either right before dinner or sometimes right after dinner. And we actually know too that walking, just the act of walking, helps us digest better and helps us burn more calories if we do it around the time that we eat. So that I think just is a good thing for my health anyway. So I generally do that. And then I have found, as a lot of other people have found, when they get in deeper connection with nature and you start doing a healthy practice like walking in nature, I call it mindful walking, it kind of can jumpstart other healthy practices, other healthy habits. And this was true for me. After I started walking regularly and started sleeping better, my weight kind of balanced out, and I found that I was drinking more water, right? And it just sort of happened naturally. It just kind of felt like I felt like drinking more water. And then as I'm drinking more water, I sort of felt like, I don't know, strawberries seemed more appealing than Twizzlers sometimes. And so I found that my diet improved, my water intake increased, my sleep got better, and I was living a more healthy life overall because of these healthy habits. So now
Wow.
I do those things. I eat better and I drink a lot of water and I drink tea every day as well. So I'm a big tea drinker and I love white tea, green tea, black tea. I drink a lot of tea. And that kind of, as funny as it sounds, it really did grow out of that practice.
It's
Yeah.
amazing. It's amazing that you just do one thing and then everything just kind of follows along. You start the ball
Exactly.
rolling, you start yourself walking.
Right.
Yeah, it's awesome. Awesome. I love it. So
Yeah.
you have something now, you've created the Mindful Walker School of Wellbeing. What is that?
Yeah, so the Mindful Walker School of Wellbeing is basically my way to share what I'm learning with other people and to bring other folks along on the journey with me. So you mentioned Walk of the Year. That's my signature program where basically I just give people a walk every week. Because one thing that I have found at working with other folks is that sometimes, people love to be out and love to be in nature for the most part, like the idea of it, but don't always know what to do. Some people find it boring if you're not going, and I'm not talking about if you're going for a hike, right? Or if you're on vacation and you're in some beautiful place. We don't really need instruction in how to commune with nature. But when I say, okay, you need 10 minutes today, 10 minutes between these activities, go out and take a mindful walk. Well, people don't always really they don't really know necessarily how to quiet their mind, for one thing. And what is a proactive thing that you can do while you're out there in that 10 minutes to really make the most of it? Besides just the walking itself is wonderful, the being out is wonderful, but there actually are some things that we can do proactively, especially if we only have a short amount of time, to really, really make the most of that experience. So that's what the Mindful Walker School of Wellbeing is, and I'm constantly kind of coming up with new things and new ways to help folks and support folks and bring folks along on the journey. I do want to go back for just a second, though, to I want to talk a little bit more about what I have learned about self-acceptance, because that's the other thing. The School of Wellbeing, on the surface, it seems to be just about a health practice and being healthy and walking in nature and all of the health benefits that we get from that. And it is very much true. But what I have come to understand, and research backs me up on this, that when we have a greater level of self-acceptance, and self-love and honestly reverence for our
Mm.
bodies and our physical selves, we are healthier. We take better care of ourselves, but it is beyond I believe that it is beyond the impetus to take better care of ourselves, but it actually, it when we love, we affect we affect the world. When we project an energy of love, whether that is directed outward or it's directed inward, we're having an impact on our
Mm.
cells, on the atoms that make up our cells. And we're only just beginning to understand how this works. And
Wow.
this is, we're bordering on the woo-woo here. I know that. And I'm a science girl here. I'm a science writer. As you said, I'm a journalist and I have a medical magazine. I'm very much into the science, but I also recognize that there are things that are beyond our understanding. And an increasing number of scientists and physicians are beginning to delve into this area and trying to understand why, when we have greater self-acceptance, greater self-love, why we are healthier, how we heal spontaneously from things that seem, impossible to heal, and things like that. You hear stories like that. So
Yeah.
there are a few ways that I think that I feel like nature helps with our self-acceptance. And if you'll indulge me for a second,
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you. So, uh, as I said, we never look at a tree and we say, oh, that tree, is not enough. It's just a tree. We just look at it and it is however tall it is, and it is however wide it is, and it has however many leaves it has. We comment on it, right? We make a mental note of it, but we don't necessarily go, that tree should be taller, right? Or that flower should be more yellow, or that, we don't say it should, right? But we constantly look at ourselves in the mirror and we go, you should be taller. You should be 10 pounds lighter. You should have fewer wrinkles. You should have,
Mm.
you should be this. You
So
should,
good. So good. Yeah.
right? You should be something other than you are. And yet we don't, we extend that courtesy to nature, but we don't tend to do it to ourselves as much.
Mm.
And for me, connecting with nature and connecting with the natural world has brought me back to that. And I have found that there is something, to appreciate and to love and respect in every natural setting, for sure. And I have gotten better at seeing that in myself and in others too, really, that that extending that feeling of I'm enough, I'm okay where I'm at. And that kind of relates to the other thing which I was going to mention, which is pace. There's a great quote, I think it's by Latz, that says, nature never hurries, yet everything is accomplished. And
Mm. Oh, so good. So
right,
good.
isn't it wonderful? There's a pace at which things unfold that is natural,
Mm.
and that is, when things are allowed to unfold at their natural pace, no matter what you do, you cannot force a seed to grow faster than it's supposed to grow. You can't make that oak tree grow up faster. You can't make the flowers bloom more faster than, I look at the daffodils early in spring and I go, come on, bloom, bloom. I want it to be spring. I want you to bloom. But no matter what, I can't make them do that. And it has helped me, coming to that realization has helped me to understand that there is a natural pace to our lives, and that things
Mm.
are unfolding kind of at the natural pace. And we as humans, we
Amazing.
tend to, especially, we high achieving women, Rosie, we want things to happen at the pace we want them to happen. We
Yeah.
make our goals and we make our timelines and we say, by this date, I'm going to have this and do this and whatever. And it doesn't always work out that way. And I'm not against goals, friends. I have plenty. I make my lists, I make my goals, but I also understand that I cannot force things to happen
Mm.
at an unnatural pace. So that's one thing, is pace. And then the other thing I think that being in nature has taught me about self-acceptance is purpose. Every single everything in the natural world, everything from the biggest tree to the tiniest microbe in the dirt has a purpose and a role to play, and an equally vital role. And we're finding this out when in certain settings we lost some little worm or some little fish or some little thing, and we think it's no big deal. And then down the road, we find out, uh-oh, the whole balance of the ecosystem in that area has been thrown off by the loss of this thing. And when we begin to kind of extrapolate that out and we think about our own selves and our purpose in the world, and as humans, we're constantly, trying to think, what is my purpose? Why am I here? Well, I have, being in nature has kind of helped me come to the realization that I may not entirely know my purpose ever. I may never completely understand, but I know that my being here at this time, in this place, doing what I'm doing, following my bliss and trying to give my good to the world, that is okay and right, and that I have a purpose just because I'm alive, right? And
yeah, well, yeah, it's just like like you said, each little thing. I'm planting seeds now, so this, when you're talking about that, it made me really think about, every little thing affects the seeds, every little bird that flies by or every little bee that flies by. And so it's the same with us. Like, our purpose is just like we're here just to be us, right?
Exactly, Rosie.
Yeah,
yes.
so good.
One thing I love about your work is that and Rosie, I don't know if we mentioned, but Rosie was my card deck coach in that Simple Path card deck, because I knew nothing about, I'd written a book, but I knew nothing about how to make a card deck. So Rosie kind of coached me through that. But one thing I really love about what you do is that you really encourage people to be themselves and to come up with creative things that reflect who they are, instead of following a particular formula and making a thing that is like other things. You're really big into helping people find the thing that really lights them up and that is their purpose, and bringing it into physical form and creative expression. And I think that's really cool. But yeah, I those are just some ways that I feel like my time in nature has helped me be more accepting of myself, of my life, of my purpose. And then because of that, I kind of was able to just sort of lift above that lifetime depression, the cloud that I had been under
Amazing.
teenagerhood. Yes. And
That's nature is medicine, right?
It has definitely been for me, and I'm certainly not alone in that. Yeah, it has been a very healing thing for me, and learning to accept myself, my purpose, my world, my life, things as they are, things at the pace they are going, just kind of being more accepting in general has helped me, I guess, give up the need to control life as much. And I think a lot of times that the mental anxiety we feel is we want things to be this way, except they're this way. And it's like, but they should be this way. And so we have this anxiety that we should be somehow able to make them different. We should be impacting them differently so that they match up with our expectation. And by kind of letting those expectations go and saying, this is how things are, and I'm going to work with things the way they are, it's just made life easier, honestly, and made my brain less hurting.
Yeah, I love it. I think that what a amazing lesson. Amazing. I think what my takeaway from what you said too is that when you said you look at an oak tree, you never say, "Oh, this one's missing a couple branches."
Exactly right.
This is just a different oak tree than the other one down the street, and we never compare them or anything.
Why don't we do that with ourselves?
I don't know.
You're just, and we hear that, we hear you need to accept yourself the way you are, you're just the shape you are, you're just the way you are, but we're like, yes, but I should be different, and we still are trying so hard.
Yeah.
Instead of
amazing.
just being able to say, like we do with the oak trees, I am this shape, you are that shape, you are that height, I have this kind of skin, you have that kind of, yeah, so I think
So
it's
beautiful.
a fun analogy and a fun thing to play with, a mental exercise that we can kind of kind of play with in our heads. Yeah.
Yeah, so beautiful, beautiful. On the note of beauty, you also do something else, right? You're interested in natural beauty techniques like face yoga. And I did experience that. So I
Yeah.
want you to tell us about that. And then, how your natural beauty techniques relate to the self-acceptance as well?
Yeah. Well, one thing that I love about facial yoga, and for anyone who's not familiar with this term, it has to do with using your hands and using your muscles in your face to basically just be the best you can be, right? Make the best. It is not about changing. You can't, replicate a facelift. It's not about changing your face, or it's not about making your face younger or anything like that. What I really love about these techniques, which include some facial massage, some acupressure, you do some poses, some funny poses with your face to strengthen certain muscles, to relax certain muscles in order to impact the skin. And what I love about it is that it really is about accepting yourself and also appreciating yourself. I called my company that I do the face yoga, which is a separate company. I will include a link here. It's not really related to this symposium, but it is part of me, so I'm mentioning it. Is Amazing Face Yoga, because you have 57 muscles in your face and head and neck. And when I learned that, I was astounded. And so part of what we do with facial yoga is we begin to get to know those muscles and how they work and where they are and how they help our expressions, and how certain expressions can make more lines and certain expressions, relaxing our face, sending some love to certain muscles, can actually brighten our appearance and smooth our skin and help us to be the best version of ourselves every day, the best version we can put forth into the world, feel confident, feel proud, feel happy, and accept and love ourselves. And it's that same thing I was saying about directing love inward, part of what we do when we're doing facial yoga. I also love the fact that it's natural, that we're not using any kind of weird chemicals, or we now know there are a lot of things in beauty products that are not good for our skin, that are honestly not good for the earth either.
Yeah.
So, and it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. So we're producing these things in huge quantities and buying them up. And that does have a negative impact on the planet, not just on us, but, on the whole world. So I'm always looking for ways to do things in a more natural way, in a way that's not going to impact the planet negatively. And heck, putting my hands on my face, loving up my cheeks, and helping that smooth the lines on my forehead and relax my face. Well, that is not going to have a negative impact on any aspect of the planet. And that makes me feel good too. And beyond that, it's just fun. So,
Yeah, and we can be a little more self-accepting of our faces, right? So it's also good. So good. I love it. I love it. So you have a free masterclass coming up.
I do, and I'm so excited about this.
Yeah.
Yes, it's up on May 11th. It's called how to, let me make sure I get my title right. Let's see. How to connect with the healing power of the natural world in a few minutes a day, no matter where you live.
Oh.
So it's kind of a long title. Anyone can come to this, but it's specifically directed at what I call midlife women, okay? Women like me. And maybe if you resonated with my story at all, and you like what you're hearing here about the kind of work I do, I'm specifically about helping. Now, I'm not a forest therapy guide. We do have those folks in this symposium. We have some wonderful people who have studied forest bathing and forest therapy and know about that and help other people on that. My whole focus is more about people who have small blocks of time and maybe don't live in a forest or don't have easy access to it. So that's kind of what this webinar is all about.
Yeah,
anybody can attend. Guys, you're welcome to attend, and you will definitely benefit from it. But I'm specifically directing it at the ladies at a certain point in life when you maybe are really busy. In my case, and maybe in yours too, Rosie, we get to a point where we've got adult children and maybe even grandkids, as I do. And but we've also got aging parents, And it's kind of, they refer to us kind of as a sandwich generation, because we've got things going on with our parents, we've got things going on with our kids. We've usually, a lot of us are still working, so we got things going on with our work and our businesses, and it can be really hard to find a thing that you can do regularly that is healing, that is helpful, that is healthy, that doesn't cost a lot of money or take a ton of time or require special equipment.
Mm.
You know, it's a time when a lot of us drift away from the gym, drift away from our yoga classes, drift away from some of the things that we might have even been doing earlier for self-care, and then we're maybe just not doing them as much anymore. So I have this masterclass planned where I'm going to be teaching about exactly how you can get out into nature, commune with the natural world, no matter where you live, in just little small time.
I love that. It's so there's no objections. Like no one can say, you know, well, I can never do it. I don't live near the woods. I don't, you know, I can't get out. I just love that you've taken away. There's no excuses for not. It's free too.
Every one of those in this masterclass, you're going to find out that that none of those work as excuses, because
I love it.
There's always a way to do this. And I think, oh, I thought my neighbor just started up a chainsaw.
Oh,
It would not be a big surprise, but anyway, that's the nature of living in a neighborhood.
yeah. So if you could just kind of sum up, what would you leave everyone with as far as like that, the self-acceptance, you know, talked about self-acceptance. What can they, obviously they can go for a walk, but what would be your words of wisdom that you'd leave for them about this self-acceptance?
Remember that you are nature, and being in nature, communing with nature in whatever way seems natural to you, and in whatever way is comfortable, whatever way is simple, whatever way fits into your life. Connecting yourself more deeply with the natural world will help you embrace the idea that you are nature and begin to accept yourself and your place in nature as a part of nature. And whether that for you looks like walking, whether it looks like forest bathing, whether it looks like meditating outside, whether it looks like tending house plants, whether it looks like ingesting or using herbs in your life strategically. There are a lot of different ways to connect with nature, but that's the one thing that I would say: find what works for you, because it absolutely will help you embrace the idea that you are nature and begin to accept yourself the way we accept the natural world.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you.
Thanks, Rosie, and take care. Enjoy the rest of your spring.
Thank you.